Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 22 My Team Career Mode. This is episode number 89 today for the Miami Grand Prix in Season 6. If you guys did miss the previous episode of the Bahrain GP, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one, our second race that was into this brand new Ferrari career of ours inside of a My Team Career Mode series. And it's been a weird one so far, still getting used to it. And I think last episode we maybe faced the first bit of that Ferrari classic luck, I guess, as we got spun round by Robert Schwartzman, and Verstappen just had a car issue, clearly, that hampered him the entire race. He qualified ahead of us, you know, up in P3, was it? Yeah, I think P3, and he ended up way down out the points. No extra pit stops, just the car, and he did not have any pace. I assume it was a problem with the car, and less hit on his side of things, but it was just so odd to see, because we had no radio call for it, and for us, of course, it was damage limitation, having been spun round, and having a slightly broken front wing. To be honest, I think we did very well, actually, by extending that medium tyre, going soft and aggressive at the end, and we continue this streak that we've had since Season 5 of finishing every race. We've actually finished in the top 5, just about, P5 there, and the fastest lap to limit the damage, and just stay ahead of, well, an unlikely name, to be honest, Fernando Alonso, doing amazingly at the start of this season with Aston Martin, with 2 second places. But it was really, the story of the day was my old team, my actual team, aarava Racing, bouncing back, going from last place in the Constructors' Championship right to the top with a 1-3 finish there. So after a wobbly first race for AAR, they show their true pace at Bahrain and what will happen when things click for them. So there's definitely a fight on, and we now come to a circuit where we found out last season with maxed out cars is actually a pretty fun track on the F1 game, at least. Maybe in real life and with, you know, slower cars, not so much. Miami can be a bit of a snooze fest, but with the maxed out cars we had last season, and of course this season, we found out there's actually some really good racing between the AI especially as well, so looking forward to that. And there's some extra spice being thrown into it, because you'll see it is very doom and gloom and wet and wild. We've got a wet qualifying coming up on Saturday here, and that's going to make life a little bit more difficult, maybe potentially for us, because this time last season at Miami, we were out of Q2. We couldn't get the lap time out just over one hot lap. In the race we had much better pace by, you know, going on lower fuel and just, you know, having that race pace, but over one lap was very hard to extract that time. So a little bit nervous going into this Saturday with the rain added on. You know, generally speaking, I feel like I'm a bit slower versus the AI in the wet compared to the dry, so having to just try and build up the confidence to attack these corners. And it's the second consecutive lap that is going to get us up top there. So we fuel the car up for 2 laps in a row, and you saw that second lap we gained like over 1 second, so really powerful to kind of gain that confidence on the first run. And then the tyres actually seem to react a lot more on the second lap. I don't know whether that's actually just in the game, really, about the intermediates needing a bit of a heat cycle into them, getting used to it, but I feel like the locking up and the grip levels turning traction out, it's so much better on that second lap in qualifying. So time and time again, when it's intermediate qualifyings, I found myself just going for consecutive laps rather than just that one flying lap that the AI can do and just bang in. So we get through into Q1, and at the start of our Q2 lap, well, we get let by Verstappen, he just set a flying lap, but didn't make life too easy for me on the entry of turn 1. But then I did make life easy for myself on the exit of that entire first complex of corners, and as I let off, Verstappen just re-overtakes me, even though he's on an in-lap technically, but that lap was already done and buried. But that's what I mean. That was my first flying lap, and it was just, there was just no grip, so I have to go again, and it's the second consecutive lap. That's going to be a massive gain. You know, not obviously, you know, the mistake, you know, away from the mistake as well, just every corner I seem to just gain time magically on the second lap rather than the first one. So yeah, I really think it's just about getting the heat in the tyres and getting that grip going, even with some understeer, gaining time on this second lap as the front end won't cooperate exactly. But since we abandoned that first lap on the delta time, it's going to look pretty ridiculous, of about 12 to 13 seconds gained as we come towards the line now to try and get ourselves up into the top 10. It's only P8 that's going to be a worry. We're going to have to go again for a now third lap on this same set of tyres. But because we've already put a bit of a cycle through them, they're already kind of up to grip. So straight away on the first flyer on this third attempt, we should be good. We've gained a second. The track is evolving quite a bit. We're down and out of P12. But that lap is going to get us through into the top 10 shootout, thankfully, up into second place. Sebastian Vettel showing his pace in the wet there, P1, whereas Drugovich only just makes it through in P10. But look at the track evolution. He was 7 tenths ahead of me, and I was about 5 tenths ahead of Leclerc. So huge track evolution, but both Mercedes through. That'll be good for them. Only one Haas of Valtteri Bottas, so this time it's Bottas' turn to shine for the Repsol Haas team as the only American car in through to the top 10 shootout. Alonso once again showing his skill to get the one Aston Martin into the top 10, along with Magnussen being the only Williams through there. Schumacher knocked out, and Piastri, surprise, but very good job from Piastri to be the sole McLaren through. So quite a few drivers actually out driving the car, dragging their team up into the top 10. But now this is where it really matters. This is where you've got to get the lap time in. It's Q3 time, and we're on our second flyer on that new set of intermediates, that third set you get for the allocation, close to the right hand side to make the run shorter, up to P4, but 3 tenths missing apparently from whoever's ahead of Russell in P1. I don't actually know who it is. It may be Leclerc, you know. That's how quick Mercedes are looking in these wet conditions. So although right now P4 would be pretty good, there is still more time to find. That means there is more time to find for other drivers as well. Right behind me, Alonso, Piastri, Verstappen clearly has a much better time to do because he's behind both of those outside the top 6 at the moment in the last part of qualifying. So running a bit deep into turn 1 puts me on the back foot, and then a tyre on the right-hand side curb just gives me a snap of oversteer, and that's going to ruin my entire lap because I'd lost 2 tenths already and I wasn't going to gain it back because I don't have any fresh inters left. That was actually a scrub set I used in Q1 that I was running, so no time to find. And so by the end of the session, others do go quicker, and I'm forced to accept P8 on the road. Verstappen up into P5 though, and it's actually a bit of a surprise. There's a front row lockout for the Mercedes-AMG EQ team. They are looking electric around this circuit, and especially just in the wet. Clearly, Bottas up there in P3 doing the American team proud. Drugovich P4. Vettel can't emulate what he did in Q2 with that insane lap time to put in P1. He's only in P7, and we're actually on the same row as him. So, funnily enough, once again, we find ourselves next to Sebastian Vettel and then behind the Williams and the McLaren. So, you know, we came back from a worse position last season on the grid to go on to win the race. So, we know it's there, maybe. The Ferrari's a different car to my car from last season, but we know it can be done, and the racing was pretty electric in the dry last season. I believe it's going to be a dry race this time around as well. So let's just get our head down from P8, like Bahrain. A lot of work to do, some overtaking, but hopefully some fun as well.
Welcome to the Miami International Autodrome, home of the Miami Grand Prix. This exciting track circumnavigates the Hard Rock Stadium, home to the National Football League outfit, the Miami Dolphins. With great opportunities for wheel-to-wheel battles featuring 19 corners, 3.36 miles long, and expected average speeds of 138 miles an hour, the Miami International Autodrome will be sure to create lots of chances to overtake. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole. And starting next to them is George Russell. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Bottas, Drugovich, Max Verstappen, and Fernando Alonso. Vettel, the owner-driver, Magnussen and Oscar Piastri, Mick Schumacher, Gasly, Lando Norris and Hülkenberg, Schwartzman, Tsunoda, Carlos Sainz and Alex Albon, Liam Lawson, Ricciardo, Perez and Esteban Ocon lines up at the back of the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box. Ant, it's fantastic to have you with us here, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the run down into turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It'll keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
So very much like last season, my strategy here is, well, just to send it really on lower fuel. Again, we have underfueled the car by about a lap or so, I would say. So again, just looking to do a bit of fuel saving, but it was quite easy at Miami here in Season 5. You know, we did the same strategy at Mexico. That was a lot harder last season. But here around Miami, with the maxed out, you know, on the fuel side of things, on the engine side, maxed out everywhere, the fuel saving was pretty easy around Miami. There's a lot of flowing corners where you just lift off, let the car roll through, let the aero slow the car down, and you can save fuel quite easily there. So we just need to get into a good groove, and at some point later in the race, hopefully find ourselves in some clean air where we can actually just do a little bit of lift and coast here and there to aid that and make sure we're good. But that will give us a nice light and nimble car at the start of this race to get some overtakes done. Vettel on the left, Alonso, the man closest to me in the championship, right ahead, but it's a front row lockout for the Mercedes boys. They haven't had the best start to the season, but could this be a huge one for them to kickstart their season? Here we go then to 5 red lights stateside and the Miami Grand Prix. Lights out and away we go. Verstappen with a bit of a slow getaway. Vettel very good on the outside. Alonso down the inside. It's 3 wide. We can't go anywhere as we're watching them go 3 wide in the next couple of corners. But Verstappen and Alonso compromised, and round the outside we've gone 2 positions up into P6. Vettel up into P5. So some things never change. Myself and Vettel both trying to climb up the order and doing so very successfully. Meanwhile, you've got Hulkenberg in P12 trying to go around the outside of Mick Schumacher, both respective Aston Martin and Gulf Porsche Williams drivers, slower than their teammates who are a bit further up the order. Alonso right behind me, behind Verstappen, and we are trying to switch positions with Vettel, but he defends and he's going to attack his teammate with a dive bomb. Drugovich locks up. We almost make a little bit of contact with him, get a bit of oversteer. That's going to invite Verstappen, and he did pinch us and try to go for a little, get his nose in there, but we're not having any of it, and we're going to keep the position. But Drugovich with a lock-up, that could have been a bit more dangerous if we weren't a bit far away from him. But typical Sebastian Vettel that we know from when we used to be his teammate. You know, I go for a move on him, and he thinks, no, I'll go for a move on someone else ahead. Meanwhile, the sharp end, Russell leads the 1-2 for Mercedes, but Russell a little bit slow and wide into turn 1. It's going to invite pressure from Leclerc. These two are desperate to get points on the boards, and this could be big points on the board, but Leclerc is going for the overtake on the inside. The two are side by side through the quick left and right. Russell will remain in first place, but it looks like it's going to be a big old scrap between the two Mercedes cars for who is going to get the plaudits today of getting their first race win. They both look so on it. They've got a gap to Bottas in third, who has got pressure from Vettel, and we need to get past Drugovich, because look how quickly Vettel's closed up to Bottas and how slow Felipe Drugovich seems to be versus Vettel and the top 4 as we make quick work of Drugovich on the inside there. Got a little bit close to him wheel to wheel, but want flying off the road. But this fighting that's gone on between the two Mercs has closed everyone up, so it's actually now nose to tail from P1 down to even ourselves almost as we try and close up to the back of Sebastian Vettel, who's looking to try and get up into a podium position, overtaking Bottas, but at the moment no DRS down this straight, so all of us staying in position. You can see Leclerc is very close to Russell, piling on that pressure, but we're closing right up to Seb at the apex of that second last corner through to the last couple as we now go on to lap 3. DRS will be activated. Look at all the purple laps flying in. Every driver here in the top 5 setting a purple time respectively, and in the end of it, I'm the one that nicks all the plaudits right at the end as we enter the third lap and taking a bit of a wider line, trying to get the power down early to close up to Vettel and be in a good frame for that DRS on the back straight. Meanwhile, behind, it's still Verstappen down in P7 ahead of Alonso, Piastri in the points ahead of Magnussen, Schumacher, Hulkenberg, Lando Norris down P13. The Audi team, they look really quick at Albert Park, you know, somewhat there in Bahrain, but here in Miami, don't know what's going on with them, but they're just not liking this circuit very much. With all of us with maxed out cars, very much track to track, having some difference, but back to the action. Vettel maybe going for another dive bomb here, the left-hander. Contact made with Valtteri Bottas. We're trying to get our nose stuck in. I'm trying my best, but we're just not going to commit there because that would have ended horrendously. But you can see I am eager to get involved in this fight, and to be honest, I'm eager to try and overtake Vettel, but every time I close up to him, he just makes another overtake. It's almost like, you know, from when we used to be teammates, we've got this little rivalry, and he just doesn't want to even give me an inch and a chance to overtake him. He wants to just get another car between me and him, and now his teammate Drugovich piling on some pressure. We have to go defensive to the left-hand side and defend him on the inside line. We need to be careful, and to be honest, we need to kind of get a move on and actually get past Vettel if we want to charge on, because I'm wary of Drugovich being a threat behind me still. As into turn one, Vettel locks up. We have to take avoiding action. He effectively brake checked us with that little mistake from him. Wasn't entirely his fault, not his intention, but what he's done there is brake checked me into turn one with a lockup, and he's sent me back 2 positions. We've lost out to Drugovich and Verstappen, and all of a sudden, the man closest to me in the championship is right behind me. Fernando Alonso dragging that Aston Martin up and being here in the top 8, whilst his teammate Hulkenberg struggles in P12. Speaking of struggles, Verstappen looking a little bit vulnerable and slow in this Ferrari. Has he got more issues like he had at Bahrain? What is going on with Max Verstappen? I know we have a car to do well here. You know, the proof is in the pudding in those first few laps, but now we're back where we started, behind both AAR cars. Drugovich benefiting from, obviously, that Vettel lockup that closed us up. You know, it was either me slowing up that much and losing the 2 positions, or just having a crash with Sebastian. So we had to take avoiding action and try our best, and we're going to have to re-engage and go again. Meanwhile, Leclerc is re-engaging with a battle with George Russell. On the inside he goes, and into the final corner. Oh! Controversy! Leclerc has taken Russell wide. The 2 Mercedes have come together. Leclerc has taken Russell wide. It's Mercedes civil war, and they both lose first and second. Bottas leads the way. There's a great scrap going on behind, 3 wide between Piastri, Magnussen, and another car on the left-hand side as Drugovich struggles with his tyres, and we're going to try and push past him on the left-hander.
There appears to be an issue. We're currently investigating.
And we've got the overtake. We're up into P3 now, podium position. But now our team has said there might be an issue with the car. Let's hope it's just an ERS or a fuel. I mean, to be honest, I don't want it to be a fuel issue. If it's a fuel issue and the fuel gets stuck, we may be in trouble with the fuel levels. But if it's an ERS issue, we can live with that. We can live with that. But Bottas is up into first place. Vettel second now after that Mercedes disaster class for them. But it's not going to be just a small issue. It's going to be an all-out engine failure for us. Oh, no. No! The Ferrari engine has gone up in smokes. And for the first time, we're ending a Grand Prix in our Ferrari career. Should we be getting used to it? Maybe so. Maybe so. This is... If the Ferrari vibes weren't out last episode at Bahrain, the Ferrari vibes are very much here. Because like Ferrari drivers in past years before us, we are out of the car and walking to the back of the garage, wondering where it all went wrong. And that's so frustrating. That failure happened on the lap immediately after the 2 Mercedes just took themselves out the running. Bottas was leading. Vettel could overtake Bottas. I could have overtaken Vettel. So I think we would have had a chance to win a second race of the season. But instead, we've got a failure of the internal combustion engine. It's actually a new one. I put that second engine in, ironically, to save the engine wear on the first one, because I saw it was a little bit higher than I would have wanted, and it's come back to bite me because the new engine is the one that's failed, and we still have some concern about the wear on the first one, maybe.
It wasn't always plain sailing today, but it was a very important win nonetheless. Tell me, Ant, how did they manage to achieve this win?
I think it was clear what the main contributing factor out on track was: speed. I know it sounds like an awfully reductive statement, but fast cars win races, and we saw that today with our winner.
The faces on our top three look so incredibly happy as they make their way up to the podium. A much-deserved victory and a brilliant performance from them all.
And somehow now, at the end of the race then, it's simulated the rest of the Grand Prix, and Verstappen has ended up winning this one, so it's 2 wins for Ferrari out of 3 races. But I'm not happy with it because, of course, you know, we had a DNF. Of course, I'm happy for the team. It's great that Verstappen actually got a win. I mean, the car had the pace. I showed it, so it's good that Verstappen, after those early struggles in the first 5 laps, clearly in the rest of the simulation, picked up pace and actually showed the same sort of pace I was showing at the first part of that race. So he's gone on to win that. So can't be too disappointed with everything. And it's actually, in the end, a bit of a shame for aarava Racing. They've lost a bit of race pace because Alonso actually came back and overtook both of them to get another podium this season. Alonso makes it 3 podiums in 3, 2 second places and a third. And to be honest, it's a great day in the office for the American team, Repsol Haas, Valtteri Bottas on the podium in front of the home crowd for the team. That's a great one for them. Gasly, the hero for McLaren, getting them 8 points up there in P6. The 2 Williams in the points, very good stuff. And Russell recovers for 1 point. Leclerc with a penalty, probably rightly so, for taking Russell wide and taking them both out the running for 1 and 2. But we end the Grand Prix with a DNF along with Robert Schwartzman. So yeah, for us, bittersweet day. I mean, still great to see the team winning and, you know, Verstappen getting up to speed after what seemed to be a bit of a mystifying lack of pace in the first 5 laps. But then as soon as I'm out the Grand Prix, he speeds back up and he finds some form. Maybe he was just struggling on the soft tyres, I don't know. But for us then in the championship, Fernando Alonso leads the championship by 14 points to Felipe Drugovich. That is crazy stuff. And Hulkenberg's not even in the top 14. So Alonso is just doing an absolute madness. You give him a slightly good car and he can do bits, it would seem, in this game. So he leads by 14. We're now down to 3rd place behind Felipe Drugovich. Ferrari, we lead the way, level on points with aarava Racing. So we're only leading by the number of wins we've got this season, 2 to aarava Racing's 1. But yeah, so that DNF has opened things up a little bit at the Drivers' Championship and the Constructors as well. A few movers and shakers with Haas and Williams gaining, Mercedes and Audi moving down the order, and McLaren getting ahead of Red Bull in the Drivers' Championship. Well, myself, Drugovich, and the rest of us have to chase after Alonso now, who has 14 points ahead of the rest now for number 14 on the Aston Martin car. How about that? But guys, if you have enjoyed this episode, hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. It is starting to feel all very Ferrari, isn't it, now, since episode 2 into this one, round 2, I should say, into 3. Yeah, if you're new around here, do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content, and I will catch you guys around, and hopefully we can bounce back from this DNF next time out. Till then, goodbye.